Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the podium Moe Espino.
President Creed, Provost, Deans, Board of Trustees, members of the faculty, family and guests here today, and more importantly, graduating class of 2017, welcome. Thank you for allowing me to participate in this joyous and memorable event. This is truly a remarkable achievement, and I want to extend you a well-deserved congratulations. It is my honor to have this opportunity to stand before you today to offer some words of encouragement as you progress into the next phases of your life. In case you didn't know, Campbell University has been around since 1887. That's 130 years. That's pretty amazing. I want you to take comfort in knowing that you have graduated from an outstanding institution with a rich history of excellence, an institution that has helped me tremendously and prepared me for medical school and now for a career in emergency medicine. So when Dean Robertson approached me about being your commencement speaker, I was honored, but I was also a little hesitant. See, I thought to myself, what can I offer these new graduates? I don't possess this profound wisdom or knowledge. I'm not a famous celebrity. I'm not a CEO, four-star general. But what I am is I'm one of you. Someone trying to navigate this adventure called life, just like you. And it wasn't that long ago when I was in your shoes. And I don't know about you, but what I can say about my experience is that it was different. I don't want to call it disadvantaged. It was just different. It's what we like to call non-traditional, and it was my path. A good friend of mine, Adrian Camboris, who happens to be a first-year medical student at the University of Maryland. She's also a mother of three, a veteran. She posted on Facebook the other day something that really caught my attention. She posts, and I quote, "5 days left of my first year of medical school. I'm struggling to convince my brain to learn complex information about the brain. My son just pooped on the floor. Someone come rescue me." So, that basically sums it up. 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of medical school. That was my experience. So the point is, I stand before you here today as a peer, a colleague, a friend, someone who's had to balance a full-time job, raise children, manage a household, all while trying to finish college, just like many of you. Yeah, I've been a student at Campbell for about 15 years, believe it or not. That may be a record. Somebody check me on that. But before I chose a career in medicine, I was a soldier. I joined the military a long time ago. Dean Robertson was right, to earn money for college. There wasn't a war back then. So as a young private, I began taking undergraduate courses at Fort Bragg. Then on the morning of September 11th, my life, along with the lives of millions of other Americans, changed. Our nation was attacked and we went to war. As the conflicts overseas escalated, so did my passion to contribute. I volunteered for the Army's Elite Special Forces Regiment. I was young and experienced, but somehow I made it through. And now, I can say I'm a Green Beret. I'm immersed myself completely in the mission, deployment after deployment, gone for months at a time, either to war or some other third world country. Looking back, though, I can say that without a doubt, wearing the uniform has been the highest honor of my life. I absolutely loved every moment I spent in uniform. And people ask me why. Why did you love it so much? And the answer is simple. It was an addiction. I was addicted. Yes, jumping out of airplanes and getting into gunfights and blowing stuff up, shooting guns all day, all that was awesome, but I was addicted to something else. I was addicted to service, to being an integral part of a team, to having a role in something that mattered, something important. The things I did in the military mattered in terms of national security, amongst other things. I felt like the luckiest person on the planet because I had stumbled upon the one profession that I believe I was born for. Not many people can say that. I was born for this. So why did I leave? Well, that's what I wanted to talk to you guys today. You see, no matter how many accolades or how many missions I went on, something was missing. As the years passed, I got older, I married, I had children. My perspective began to change. I started to gain sight of the reason I enlisted in the Army to begin with. The hunger to finish what I started grew to a point where it was no longer possible to ignore, and the thought of leaving my dream job began to enter my mind. I looked at the faces of my young children. I wanted them to be proud of their father. I wanted to prove to them that if this old soldier could graduate college, so could they. On top of that, no one in my family had been to college. As a matter of fact, no one in my family had even graduated from high school. My parents were born in Mexico and only got to the 6th grade before immigrating to the United States. They didn't speak the language. They came here with no education, no skills. So they did what they could to stay afloat and make a decent living for their children. They made it possible for me to take a full advantage of the opportunities that were not available to them. So you see, obtaining an education became something deeply, deeply personal for me because so much was riding on my success. It wasn't just about me. It was about the future of my children. It was about the validation of my parents' struggle and my wife's struggle. My wife gave up her dreams, her career. She endured all those deployments, all those endless nights studying that I spent studying, raising 3 kids practically on her own so that I could realize my dreams. I had to go for it. So I made graduating from college my next mission. The Army taught me how to prioritize. It taught me the importance of time management, discipline. So while on active duty, I resumed my studies with vigor. I would get off work, I'd run to my night classes on Fort Bragg, and I'd sit there for 4 hours for a lecture. I spent many weekends studying, taking classes at Pope Air Force Base. I would commute here to main campus to take the classes I needed. During deployments, I enrolled in online classes. I made time. And after 13 years since graduating from high school, I finally obtained an undergraduate degree. I'm sure this is a journey many of you can relate to. Many of you have children, spouse, parents, loved ones who are fully on board for the ride, people who believe in you and are rooting for you, people who look up to you with admiration and awe. Some of you may be even the first to graduate from college in your family. That's amazing. And don't minimize this accomplishment. It matters. It matters because whether you know it or not, someone is looking. They're looking to you for motivation, for proof that it can be done. You standing here today, looking ever so elegant in your gowns, poised, ready to take on what's next, is that proof. Now, besides marrying my wife, joining the military has been the best decision I've ever made. Having served opened up so many doors for me that would have otherwise been shut. So I'd like to share a few experiences with you. During my first deployment to Afghanistan, we had 2 extraordinary individuals join our team, Christian Longsworth and Eric Caban. Christian was a proven, experienced non-commissioned officer. He was also an instructor at the military's premier leadership course, Ranger School. Eric, he was an Army Ranger and sniper. He was one of the few Rangers that had the historic combat jump into Afghanistan with the 75th Ranger Regiment during the initial invasion. Both had taken the next step and went through the rigorous process of earning their Green Beret. They were very passionate about Ranger School. They urged me to attend. Now, for those of you that don't know what Ranger School is, it's basically 62 days of misery and pure evil and misery. That's basically it. I remember Christian walking into my room one day. He sat down. Authoritatively, he told me, "Mo, when we get back from Afghanistan, you're going to Ranger School." And I scoffed at him, like, "No way, what are you talking about? I don't need to go to Ranger School. I'm already a Green Beret. What am I going to learn at Ranger School?" And then he says the words that would basically change the way I approach life. He says, "Mo, you can't live off of the past forever." He says, "Congratulations, you're a Green Beret. That's really impressive. But now what? Are you going to be satisfied with what you've already accomplished in life?" He says, "You got to continue to seek new glory, man, always." And he was right. I thought to myself, I'm not done. I'm not even close to being done. You ask anyone who's been to war what kills soldiers in combat, and most will tell you it's complacency. The decision to stop evolving, to stop improving yourself, leads to complacency. In the world of special operations, you're surrounded by some of the most competent, courageous people on the planet. I'm talking about true overachievers, and you have to find a way to continue to contribute or you're just gonna get left behind. Not only do you have to become an integral part of a team, but you have to be able to preserve that role, because in combat is brutal, it's unforgiving. There are rarely second chances in combat. All it takes is one mistake, one moment of weakness, one clumsy decision, and people die. You can't live off of the past. Those words changed my life. That is how I approach my life every single day. I try to make myself better every day than the day I was before. So the good news is you guys have accomplished an incredible feat. You should be extremely proud of yourselves. I congratulate you. Go celebrate. Enjoy this moment. Savor it. You earned it. Bad news is tomorrow, when the sun rises, all of the challenges that our nation and our planet faces, they're still going to be there. What will you do with this education that you work so hard for? How will you build on it moving forward? Tomorrow when the sun rises, ask yourself this: how will I contribute? How can I make an impact? Enjoy today, guys, but tomorrow when you wake up, I challenge you to go seek new glory. I'll get back to Eric and Christian in a second, but first let me tell you how Ranger School actually went. So when I come back from Afghanistan, like an idiot, I volunteered through Ranger School during the winter time. One particular night, we're out there training. The temperature was in the 30s. My platoon had just dug in for an ambush. This means we lay motionless on the ground, potentially for hours, until the enemy shows up. Now, this was during swamp phase of Ranger School, and even though we're consistently wet and cold, on this day I was actually feeling pretty good. I was dry, I was cozy. As I'm laying there trying to stay awake, I see the unmistakable flash of lightning from my periphery. And my heart just sinks, here we go. I hear the thunder, and slowly but surely, here comes the rain. A soft trickle transforms into this monsoon-like downpour. The precious body heat that I had worked so hard for began to slowly ooze out of my body as the rain saturated my uniform, and the feeling of self-pity consumed me. There I was, defeated, lying there soaking wet, feeling absolutely sorry for myself. Why am I here? It's 30 degrees, I'm starving, I've lost 35 pounds, I haven't slept in days, and I volunteered for this. But then I look to my left, and I see the most pitiful sight I've ever seen in my life. I see my ranger buddy lying there, making a worthless, futile attempt to shelter himself from the rain with a branch. Poor guy, he was so fatigued, probably had no clue what he was doing. But I'm positive he was feeling just as sorry for himself as I was. And I started to chuckle and I realized it's all about perspective. All of a sudden, things weren't that serious, Instead, I decided to enjoy the moment, take it all in. It's just training, it'll be over eventually. And that's when I realized how dangerous self-pity is. It's malignant. I spent many lonely nights far away from those whom I love, cold, wet, hungry, sleepy, scared. I get it. When you already feel like you've been swimming upstream your entire life, why continue to make life harder on yourself? Why not just quit? Why not take the easy path? Listen, I'm human. I hurt. I feel anger, frustration. I have moments of doubt just like everyone else. Everyone goes through these moments. Everyone sitting here on this stage has faced adversity. No one is immune. But do yourself a favor. Take a moment. Go find yourself a corner. Lick your wounds. Do what you have to do, but regroup. Don't give in. Stand up and come back stronger. If you ever had the privilege of listening to a couple of veterans telling war stories, you'll learn that they don't talk about the moments that everything went well. They don't talk about the uneventful missions where things went perfectly. No, they talk about the difficult moments. They talk about the struggle. They talk about the times when they faced adversity and survived. So I say to you, embrace the struggle and embrace it. The struggle is life. Adversity and the way you deal with it will have just as much impact on who you are as a person as anything else. It will shape you. Self-pity, guys, remember, it's dangerous. It will suck the life out of you if you let it. It will stagnate you and at worst regress all the achievements and progress you've made. And finally, back to Eric and Christian. These two guys have had a profound influence in my life, even till this day. During that same deployment to Afghanistan, my team was conducting a routine combat patrol. It was scorching hot, we were tired, dehydrated. We began driving back towards our base when out of nowhere we were ambushed by approximately 150 enemy fighters. Now, we'd been through many ambushes before, many firefights before, but this one was different. This was an ear ambush. The enemy was so close we could see them. We could hear them screaming, panicking as they maneuvered. With an ambush of this magnitude, we were quickly in the fight of our lives. Not long after it began, 8 men lay wounded. One of them was Christian. He had been shot in the neck, severing his carotid artery. He was standing right next to me when it happened. And I recall getting in our vehicle and trying to drive out of the kill zone. And with my free hand, I tried stuffing a rag as deep as I could into his wound to stop the bleeding. It didn't work. When I finally was able to stop the vehicle to administer first aid, he was already unresponsive. He had lost too much blood. There was nothing I could do. I looked around the battlefield and saw pure chaos. We were getting killed, literally. Before I ran off to help those that I could save, I turned to look at my friend one last time, and I see him lying there peacefully. His war was over. Not 2 months later, we're on another patrol, this time a nighttime mission. Eric had volunteered to take Christian's place on the machine gun, and as we were driving towards our target, we're ambushed again. Under night vision, you can see the trajectory of the bullets zip through the air, and I remember seeing a flurry of them coming towards me, almost as if it was in slow motion. It was very surreal. Sure enough, those bullets were coming right towards us. We stopped, fought back. I emptied a drum of machine gun fire towards the enemy, and as I'm changing drums, I realized that our .50 caliber machine gun isn't firing. I become irate. I start elbowing and screaming at Eric to start firing the machine gun, but he didn't budge. I turned to look at him through my night vision, and I see him just sitting there, bent over calmly over the turret. A metallic smell began to permeate my senses. It was the unmistakable smell of blood as in close proximity. The iron contained within it. You can almost taste it. He had been shot cleanly right under his left orbit and died instantly. Right there next to me in the same vehicle, in the same spot as Christian had died just a few weeks earlier. Just like that, 2 warriors, 2 patriots, gone. All in all, we lost 8 men that deployment, many more wounded. Just like Christian and Eric, they were all young. They were fathers, brothers, husbands, sons, all warriors, all giants in my eyes, all full of life, all gone too soon. These men, who I thought were indestructible, were gone in a blink of an eye. And I struggled for years with guilt because they were dead and I wasn't. I didn't know why my God chose to spare me, allow me to come home to my wife and my kids. They did not. I named my youngest son Christian in order to help preserve his memory so that one day when he's older, I can tell him about the great man he was. But that wasn't enough. I realized that the only true way to honor them is by living the life they could not live. So graduating class of 2017, I leave you with this. Live. Whatever it is you choose to do after today, do it with passion. Do it with purpose. Live a life of no regrets and make it meaningful. Lead a life of service. I guarantee you there's nothing more gratifying than serving your fellow man. Be bold in the face of adversity as you work hard to realize your dreams. Just don't forget to laugh and love along the way. Live in the moment and don't take everything so serious. Whatever aspirations you have in life, pencil them in today. Because one thing that combat taught me for sure is that death escapes no one. So in honor of Eric, Christian, and all those who we've lost too soon, live. Congratulations, class of 2017. Thank you.